could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting Robby Wells. He is a presidential candidate for the upcoming 2024 election in the United States. Also, he is an ambassador and spokesperson for the International Human Rights Peace Commission. Hello, Robby. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, good morning. It is great to be here and to be able to speak with your audience.
Yes, thank you. So let's start a conversation with talking about upcoming election. And we would like to know more about you and what you represent. And in your recent campaign as independent party representative, you mentioned if elected as president, you will build the creative society. What is exactly creative society about and how it's gonna look like once you elected? What are the steps you're going to take into building it?
Well, the creative society is completely different from what you see in the world today. We are on a consumer format right now, which keeps us in perpetual wars, an economy that is volatile. It's up one minute, down the next, and we've seen crashes probably about every 12 to 15 years with our economy. We've seen inflation through the roof. We've seen gas prices and even the price for just a gallon of milk and food to go sky high. So moving into the creative society, into the creative format, we're looking at prices being stabilized, where every person in the United States will have a monthly income of basically $10,000 a month, free housing, the elimination of debt, the elimination of taxes for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and individuals, and just a better way of living. In the creative society, we put human life at the top of our priority list, and the freedoms and the liberties are actually given back to us. In the creative society, we actually give the power back to the people. And that's what I am looking to do here in the United States. I'm actually the first candidate to actually do that. And I'm hoping that a lot of other people here in the United States on different levels, whether it be US Senate race or congressional races, whatever, that we do that. But once we move to this, we actually put the power back in the hands of the people.
Right. And you mentioned how power will be back in the hands of people, but how do we know that for sure? So you are saying that you're going to be the last president in the United States if elected. So what's going to be after you?
Well, after me, hopefully we'll be truly in the creative society, and hopefully that's sooner than later. Once elected, and understand this, as an independent candidate, the reason, number one, that I chose to run as an independent is simply because we, as a people, since the onset, we have sought for our independence, okay? And the way the political climate is in America, and has been for years, our country has been divided, whether they were mainly a Democrat or Republican, the two main parties. So it has divided our country on many issues, plus the fact that, if you're affiliated with this one, you can't be affiliated with the people on the other side. I truly believe that we need to unite our people. We have some major issues with the climate, and the only way that we are going to solve that is if we bring everybody together. We've got to bring the smartest minds together, and the only way to do that is to drop the labels and start working together. So I've chosen to run as an independent. Now, I would be the first independent to actually win the White House since the very first president, which was George Washington. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the political climate right now in America, I believe that we are set to do just that. 54% of the voting population in the United States considers themselves independents. Now, if we can tie in and grab all of those voters, we've got a majority, number one. Number two, you start looking at the Democrats and Republicans, and between the two of them, they've only got about 46% of the vote, which means they've got about 23% apiece. And that's true if you look at the polls. There's a lot of Democrats and Republicans that are not going to be happy with their candidate. So we're giving them a positive new direction. And I truly believe that we'll get a lot of Democrats and Republicans that actually come to us as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you're going to have that majority of population that could join into uniting together and building that new format. So I see that we all have the same purpose, which is building peace in the end, right? So right now we have different issues going on in the world, wars, let's say Russia, Ukraine, for example. So what are your thoughts on like establishing the peace internationally?
Well, once we move into the creative society and we stabilize the economy, once we do that, we are promoting world peace. And we will move to world peace. That's not easy to achieve, but it's something we are going to strive for. I have always been one that believed in diplomacy. Whenever two sides have an issue and a conflict, they should come together, sit down, and try to work it out. And the reason being, once you sit down with an adversary, you find out that you have a whole lot more in common than you do in your differences. And if you can find those commonalities, you can start working together. And one of the main things that we all should be concerned with here in the world, not just the United States, but the world, is the climate. And this is another reason we need to move to the creative society. The climate is volatile and it's getting worse. And there's some things going on in our climate right now that the American people and really the people all over the world are going to be noticing. And it's going to get worse. The only way that we've got a chance against that is if we get the most brilliant minds around the world working together. And the only way we can do that is through the creative format. We can't be against each other like we are in the consumer format right now. We all have to work together.
Right. So what do you think divides people nowadays? Why we separated so much and we're not seeing the main goal here where we can just be as one and build that peace and go towards, establishing better community for all?
Anna, that's a great question. It's a very simple answer. There are a very select few people in this world that make a lot of money off of billions of us, okay? Mm-hmm. And because of that, they do everything they can to divide us, whether it be on race, religion, economics, military conflicts, whatever the case may be. They do everything they can, even abortion. They take everything that really we should be working together on, and they divide us. And if they can keep us divided, they can keep the power. A very select few, I call them elitists, okay? But they can keep that power. So we've got to change that. And I understand that the ones that are in power right now, they're not just going to hand the power to me and say, oh, here, go ahead, do what you got to do. We've got to have a strong movement of people here in the United States. And I think that we're onto something right now. And here's why I say that. Mm-hmm. History repeats itself. So we take what has happened in history and we apply what we've learned. So we don't make the same mistakes if things went bad in history. And so we continue doing the right things if it went right in history. Let's look back at 2008. In 2008, President Obama was the first presidential candidate to really use social media. He used Facebook, he used YouTube, but mainly Facebook, and he won. Fast forward 8 years later, President Donald Trump, he used Twitter with social media. Now we're going to fast forward 8 more years. And if you look at what we're doing on TikTok, which is the new social media trend right now, We are getting more views, comments, likes, and follows than any of our opponents right now on TikTok. So I encourage everybody that's listening right now to join in on that. Also, I encourage everybody listening to join the Creative Society and join this campaign. It's going to take all of us coming together. There's power in numbers, and we've got to get everybody coming together. We've got the political strategy to win this race, but it's going to take all of us to do it.
Yeah, that's right. And like you mentioned, power of social media is very great. We don't understand how many people we can reach through those channels. And at the same time, you're saying that not everybody is using it. So why there are other candidates would not use the same type of channel as Creative Society, let's say?
Oh, that's correct. And I think that's where a lot of them are going to just not even realize that we're here until it's too late. The perfect storm. Think about the perfect storm. The perfect storm is the storm that comes in that nobody was expecting. Nobody knew it was there, but then all of a sudden it just shows up and it's too late to do anything about it. We want to be the perfect storm versus our candidate or our competition. And if we can do that, they will not know what to do.
Yeah. And also, I've noticed that you are giving speeches not just in the United States, but internationally as well, like in India or other countries. What is the purpose of that campaign, going to other countries and talk in front of, the audience there?
Well, and I appreciate you asking that question. Yes, I've been to India several times. I'm actually set to go back to India in October of this year, and believe it or not, speak in front of about 750,000 people, the largest crowd I've ever spoken in front of. That'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Spoken in China, Jinan, China, Paris, France, most recently in Milan, Italy, just 3 weeks ago. And those have been incredible experiences. I've spoken in the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, a few years ago. It's all about world peace. It's all about building a creative society and all of us coming together to build a better world. For so long, we have been in economic slavery, not only in the United States, but around the world. There is no reason in 2023 why we should have homeless people, hungry people, people without good health care, people without good education, people without debt. That should not be the case here in 2023. We've got the know-how to actually do that. It's time for us all to come together, rise up, and make it happen.
Yes, and I see that we're all going to start with the United States, as you mentioned, if elected as president, but then you're planning to collaborate with other country leaders as well, as the campaign to unite and come together as one. So if we're looking in the future, let's say, what is the possibility in, let's say, 5 years from today, where we can live as worldwide, how it could look like?
Well, in 5 years from now, if things go our way, good Lord willing, you're looking at the next president of the United States. And that will be 3 years into my first term and 3 years into building the Creative Society. Now, understand this. When I'm elected, and I say when, not if, and the reason I say when is because it's not over for me until I win.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I win the White House, thanks to all the people that are supporting and volunteering their time. And for just 1 second, let me give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to Marina Ovis and all of her people that have been supporting this campaign, and to the people across this country. We've got people in Kansas, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, all across the South, California, Arizona, you name it. We've got people just popping up everywhere. Virginia, they're helping with this campaign. So what I will tell you is this: in the event that it happens right here, which we intend for it to do in 2024, we're sending a mandate to Washington. Number one, it's the first independent president in over 200 years. Now think about that. That's a mandate to do exactly what this platform is with the Creative Society. So I will go to Washington in a couple of weeks after I am settled in. They have the State of the Union address. I'll get up in front of the entire Congress and the Senate, and I will tell them, look, this is what the American people elected me to do. This is the mandate. This is the direction that we're going with the Creative Society. And for those that jump on board, great and good. For those lawmakers that do not, I'm going to meet with them and tell them they may want to think twice about that, because it was a mandate, and that if not, I'm going to go stand in front of the microphone and the cameras, and I'm going to tell the American people they need to start the recall on those lawmakers, because we've got to move in a new direction and get out of this old archaic way of doing things in the consumer format. We've got to move from it.
Right. So they would have a choice either to join you or, to leave, I would say, right? And
right.
Yeah. And
because we're going to make sure that we get this agenda through. Absolutely.
Of course. Yeah, I understand. And also, how would you advise people to join you on that campaign, where they could find more information about the Creative Society and your presidential campaign?
Okay, so the Creative Society website is creativesociety.com. Very simple. Creativesociety.com. Now, my website for the campaign, I want people to rise up. So my campaign website is riseupwithrobby.com. Rise Up with Robby, spell Robby with a Y. Riseupwithrobby.com. Now, I want you to think about this. Our world, United States, our nation, has been paralyzed by this consumer format. We've been hounded by debt, trillions and trillions of dollars of debt. And let me ask you something about that debt that our country is in right now. Did you ever sign for any of those loans on that debt? Of course not, nor did I, nor did any other American citizen that's sitting out there. That was done by lawmakers that are up in Washington, and they signed over all this debt. Okay, well, if we didn't sign for that debt, we're not in debt. So we need to move to this new way of doing things. And again, give people, we're already on a fiat money system, which means it's backed by nothing. It's just on paper. So let's go ahead and give everybody enough that we no longer have poverty. For the longest time, a long time ago, we used to fight against poverty, and then we started waging war on poor people. We've got to get away from that and go back to waging war on poverty itself. And with the Creative Society, we get out of that very quickly.
So you mentioned that when you elected as president, all the debt will be canceled. Is that right?
That is correct. Okay. All mortgages, all debt will be canceled. Okay. And I am going to sit down with President Putin and President Xi Jinping of China. And I'm going to spell out exactly the format that we are going with the Creative Society. And that's the direction that we're going to move as a nation. We are the United States of America, and we need to start acting like it again.
Yes. And I also want to ask you about the taxes. I've seen in your campaign for small and medium-sized businesses, there will be no taxes, and also per individual level as well. But so they only will be applied for the, I guess, large corporations. Is that the case?
That is correct. For many, many years, the large corporations have been able to hide through tax loopholes and not pay their fair share. In fact, a lot of these corporations actually use the federal government as a subsidy to pay their employees. Okay, no names mentioned, but there are some, and you can do your research to find that out. Okay. So we're going to make sure that we change that, where it's an equal playing field, where those huge corporations are now going to take care of their responsibility.
All right. Yeah. So I see that we all can emerge in a different way of living altogether with no debt, no pressure in terms of paying credit cards or like mortgages. So now if everything goes well, this is what ideal society would look like for all of us. And what as a representative from from all of us people in creative society, you would serve a term, right? Like how long that term will be the same as it was for presidential term before, like 4 years, or it will be something different?
I would think so, because moving into the creative society, it's going to be a transition phase. It's going to take a little bit of time to actually get everything in place and to actually get the legislation to pass. You know how Congress is. Now, they're going to be pretty tough about it. I'm sure some of them will. But again, I'm going to come back. I'm going to be tough too. I'm an old football coach. Okay. I'm tough.
Yeah.
So they can be tough all they want. In fact, some of my campaign team, they think I'm too tough at times. But I've got a big heart. I do. I love people. I love my country. I love God. And I think that my priorities are correct. So, yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit of time, simply because there's going to be some old politicians that are still in Washington. Number one, they've got to understand what we're doing. And then number two, if we've got to fight them, we will.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And also, as I understand, in the future, once the first representative from creative society is chosen, it's only will be other representative from creative society that can run for the same position, right? So no other parties will be involved whatsoever.
Well, the way that I envision it is that all of the Congress, all of the Senate positions, we have people all across the United States that are a part of the creative society, that they rise up in this upcoming election and they all run for those positions as well. And we use my campaign as kind of like the umbrella for everybody to come under, the Rise Up Robby Wells for President campaign. But everybody comes under that Rise Up. And we as a people, we truly choose to rise up. We rise up out of being enslaved economically. We rise up out of being paralyzed through debt. Okay. We rise up out of perpetual wars. But this is something that we've got to do. Yes, I'm running for the highest office in the land. But we need a lot of other people that are going to run for all these other positions too, so that we can actually make this happen.
Right. So it will be different positions in the creative society where everybody will represent our power of people, right?
Exactly. And think about this. We've got the technology now because of these little things called smartphones.
Yes.
We've actually got the technology now that once we move into the creative society, everyone is going to have a chance at true democracy. They can once a day go on their phone, they can look at all the issues, they can cast their vote at what they want to see happen. And then we go with that. And then you've got representatives that truly represent their people in their district. And they're looking at the numbers here and they say, oh, okay, well, 85% say that they want this. So this is the way we're going. Okay, but no longer are we going to have these politicians that are going to do exactly what they want to do and try to hold their thumb down on our necks and keep us down so that they can get rich and that they can lobby to these special interest groups and vice versa. Look, all these other candidates that are out here right now, Anna, they are all tied to special interest groups. I've got one special interest group. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
350 million Americans.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There you go.
And you just mentioned that we would be able to just pick up the phone and vote for any type of, discussion that we have, and
Yeah.
that will be transparent. Is that right?
It's total transparency. And when you have total transparency, there is no need for any kind of cover up. And if there's no need for a cover up, there's never a scandal. We're all just living where we put the society first, which is the way we should be anyway, instead of just a few individuals that are being placed ahead of billions of people. That's got to change. And it will change under my watch.
Right. And what would you say to people who, still undecided who they should vote for? What kind of, I would say, values they should consider while thinking about voting for different candidates? What should be their focus when they decide who is going to take their vote?
Well, listen, I understand that we should take the right to vote as a true privilege and honor. There were people that fought for the right for all of us to have that honor to be able to vote. So for those that are younger, they get it. They get what we're saying. If you're 50 and younger, there's a lot of support with what we're doing. Those that are a little bit older, that they've been in this other format, the consumer format, for so long, that's all they know. They look at us and what we're saying and say, oh, that sounds too good to be true. Well, it's not too good to be true. It can actually happen. It's just for so many years, these people have been beat down. They've been beat down in a current system that's taken from them. Okay, we were supposed to be given a deal back in 1776 when we won the Revolutionary War, but we never got that deal. My job, my charge is to go and actually give the people that deal. It was Roosevelt that led the United States out of the Great Depression, and he gave America the New Deal to do it. But when I become president, I will be giving America the real deal.
All right. So the real deal is something that we all want, and we will see how it's going to play out when that happens. And also with us questioning, and seeing that the format that we live in right now, it's not working. We have to think, I would say, creatively, or look for other possibilities that are out there to build something that works for all of us, not just certain group of people, but the majority, or I would say all people. And this is how it should be. But like you mentioned, some people just, all they know is this format that they live in. And when something new is presented, they're very suspicious of it. They don't know how it's going to look like, and what is the difference. And with them, without having enough knowledge and education about it, they wouldn't know if this is something they really would love to vote for. So maybe first step for them, it would, go to creativesociety.com and learn more about what this format is all about. I know there are different pillars that it stands for, right? And it kind of like explains what exactly it will look like in the end. And you being representative from that independent party, that will tell more for people who still undecided on, or they don't know if that's the right choice for them.
That's correct. And we've got time. We've got a little over a year and a half until the general election. So we've got time for all these older voters that are skeptical, that are set in their way with the current format. We've got time to educate them on a better way. But it's a much better way. right now, the United States, we rank 36 in the world in education. That's not good enough. Okay. We're the only Western industrialized nation that doesn't have free health care or free college tuition. That's not good enough. So we've got to change that. I'm one that believes that we should educate our young people from a younger age to a later age, and it should be taken care of. The current education format gives people a free education all the way through the 12th grade. And you've got to ask yourself, if you stand back and ask yourself, well, why does it just go to the 12th grade? Here's why. The system was set over 100 years ago when middle class America was booming. And in middle class, you could have a husband and a wife and 2 children, and they could live a very, very nice life where he worked, the husband worked, she stayed at home, and all he had was a high school diploma. Now we've progressed. You need more education. We need degrees, okay? People need skills to be able to do some of these jobs that are out here. So education should be at a higher level. It should be creative. We should be able to stand there and look at what we've done and be proud of it instead of having to work as a slave for someone else. Okay. My ultimate goal is to see where a work week for an average American would be 4 days a week and 4 hours a day, which is only 16 hours a week. And we're getting to that now anyway, because of robotics and artificial intelligence. And for some of these older people, they don't think that that's happening, but it is happening. There's already some fast food restaurants out there right now that are completely robotic. There is not one person working there. And as we continue moving forward, those jobs are going to go away. So we have to move in this. And I'm going to tell you this too about the creative society. This creative format, if the United States does not go first, then China or Russia or one of these other countries will. And what the United States and the people of this country need to realize is we're either going to be the leader of the world or we're going to be the follower when it comes to the creative society. I choose to be the leader.
Right, like you mentioned, because the ultimate goal is for us to unite with all of those countries. So somebody will start first with that new format, and I guess they will be discussing to have others on board as well as following their format. And also, I wanted to mention how it's important for us to understand the new skills that we need to develop with that technology coming in. And sometimes people still stuck in their mindset with, you know, whatever happened, I don't know, 50 years ago, and they still keep passing on generations saying that this is your profession, that you should spend that time, spend that money to get that type of profession. But in the end, maybe it's not even relevant in our days. Maybe it's already outdated. Like you said, with the artificial intelligence, robotics, we're moving in a different era. And for humans, maybe we should look for different type of skills that we need to manage those operations that's happening, right? So like you said, working 4 days a week, 4 hours a day, 16 hours a week, that would be sufficient without us being burnt out and used for other purposes.
And Anna, if someone wants to work longer and work on their entrepreneurship with whatever business they have, fine, go ahead. They're free to do that. This is a creative society. We're free to do that. We're free to create. And that's one thing that I love about this platform. I've always been pretty creative and artistic myself. I do have a sports and education background as an educator and a coach for 20 years. But it was very creative in what we did. And I look at this as just a continuation of that. And I finally found a place where not only can I make a huge difference in the United States and help a lot of people, but I believe I can make a huge difference in the world too. And that's what we all need to do. We need serious-minded people to step forward right now and say, hey, enough's enough. We need to move in this new direction.
Right, and you see your role into this process as being a facilitator for change.
Correct.
And that's somebody who brings a new perspective, and for us to learn about something we never knew before. But again, everything is possible if somebody is still suspicious, or they don't know if that's going to happen, but anything that we pretty much put our mind to could happen. So we need to understand that everything starts with an idea in our mind first, but then it's getting
Right.
materialized.
Correct. Correct. And we can get so set in our ways, and I'm at fault for this too. I've been working on my political career for quite a while, and when I first started it, and it was just God and me, literally. I'd go to do a speech somewhere, and it'd be 5 people there. 3 of them would be my family, and 2 of them, one of them might be a homeless person, and there might be one person there that actually was an outsider listening and getting the message. But I knew I had a good message. I knew I loved the people, and I knew I loved my country and God. So I just kept going. Now, after working so hard by myself to gain some momentum, now it's a transition for me because I got a team. Okay. I've got a team of people, and I've been so used to like doing it all myself. But now all of a sudden I've got people that are, no, I want to do this, Robby. I want to help you. I want to do this. Okay. And then I have to take a deep breath and say, well, this is really what I wanted. So I just let them do it. Okay. I may fight them for a second, and then I start thinking, you know what? Let them do it. They see it. They see what I want. They see what we need as a world. Let them do it.
Yeah. And it's great that, when you find the right people along the way, and those are the ones that supporting you and helping you move into the right direction, and, realizing your vision, because they see it too. They see how possible it is to build what they want.
Oh, listen, I've got a group that I work with out of Atlanta, Georgia. They're a production crew, and with Marina Obis. They have done some incredible things. Before them, like my social media, it was small, but okay. But now, since they have taken over with this and they've put it out the way they do, I don't even know how they do it with social media. It's so cool that they do it though. But we're getting millions and millions of views on TikTok. This is the new social media platform that everybody has gone to that's age 55 and younger. What we've got to do is start reaching out to those that are 55 and over and get them on TikTok as well, because we're getting millions of views, great comments. Yes, we get some negative comments too, but you know what? They're still listening. They're still listening. I've had so many people in my past that were negative, but because I never did quit, and because I never did give up, and because even on the tough times, I kept taking one step forward. Okay. Just like Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player to ever play the game. But do you know he missed over 20,000 shots in his career? Alex Rodriguez is known for being one of the greatest hitters in all of Major League Baseball. Here's one thing that you don't know about Alex Rodriguez. He's number 5 on the all-time Major League Baseball list with strikeouts. Those that are truly successful have had to fail, and they've had to fail big. And it's okay to fail big. I've had to fail in my past. Okay. But because of that, it's put a burning desire inside of me to succeed. Okay. And because I failed, now I succeed. And here we go. In fact, I don't even like to use the word fail anymore. It's more of a learning experience. And I wouldn't change anything in my past. There have been tough times, there have been learning experiences, but I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if I didn't go through it.
Right, you're right. And I also agree how we should look at failures, not because, it's something that we didn't get, right? But something that we needed to go through in order to learn and adjust. And maybe now with that knowledge, we're going to apply it and, get where we want to go, and see a different types of, unsuccessful attempts is something that we it's like a part of the process. We have to go through them to learn, to teach ourselves to be resilient, to not giving up and keep going, and knowing that with that purpose and vision in our mind, we can achieve it. Like you said, with that burning desire, this is what we need. This is what will be your internal motivation to wake up every morning and do your work, and just be consistent with what you do, and don't worry about other people. Focus on what matters.
Think about Abraham Lincoln, one of our greatest presidents. He's revered, okay? Abraham Lincoln failed majorly 18 times before he won the White House. He ran for office a bunch of times and he didn't succeed. Then he ran for the White House and he won. And he became one of the greatest presidents because he pushed for the passage of the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. Now, let's fast forward many, many years later to 2024. When I become president, it is my goal to go to Washington and push for legislation that will break the chains of economic enslavement that are on every United States citizen, really on every person in the world. Okay, and I will do that with the Creative Society.
Right. So even something that started a long time ago, but wasn't realized, now it could be the time to do it. And it could be another person who will make that happen. So us, first understanding what we want and knowing ourselves on a deeper level, and knowing that going through failures is just, it's part of the process, but it's inevitable that you will get to that success point. It's a matter of time and your willingness to take steps and to not give up. So this is something our listeners need to hear, and especially with that inspirational story of yours. And I'm so grateful that we had time today to discuss what's coming, what changes are we having in our world right now. And thank you so much for sharing your story. And I will include all of the links in the episode descriptions for people to check. Any last word that you want to say to our listeners?
Absolutely. For everybody that's listening today, I want you to ask yourself one major question. Are we better off now than we were 10 years ago? What I mean by that, look at it economically, look at it from a military standpoint, look at it from an education standpoint. Our education system in the United States has continued to dwindle, where we're 36 in the world. Our healthcare system costs too much right now, so people can't go get their healthcare. We've got perpetual wars right now. We've got inflation. We've got prices that are all over the place. So you got to ask yourself, are we better off now than we were 10 years ago? And if the answer is no, then we've got to make a new change. If we keep on doing what we're doing, we're going to keep on getting what we're getting. Okay. And that's the definition of insanity, especially when you keep on doing what you're doing and expect a different result. It's not going to happen. So we've got to think outside the box and do something completely different. And you get that with the Creative Society. For all of you out there, if you want to be a part of this campaign, go to riseupwithrobby.com, and there's a form you can fill out. I promise you that our campaign staff will be in touch with you, and we'll put you to work. Whatever state you're in, we will put you to work.
All right. Thank you so much. And I hope you have, a good day, and good luck with everything that you're doing. And we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate it. God bless.
All right. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.